Hey, Elizabeth.
Hi, how are you?
Awesome. I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Good. Good. Thank you. Thanks for
Cool.
having me.
Well, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, of course.
Of course, everybody's going to know you as the beloved anthem singer for the Vancouver Canucks, for the Whitecaps. Um, so I guess I kind of want to get into like the first time and like, what do you remember about the first time you did that for the Canucks? And how old were
Yeah.
you?
I was 10 years old when I first started with the Canucks. So I was a wee one. I wasn't actually unaware or I was used to being on stage. I did musical theater all growing up, so crowds were something I was used to and comfortable with.
Hmm.
So I apparently, according to my parents, had this really confident, calm attitude about me. I think they were saying that they were freaking out on the side, like, oh my goodness, is she going to be okay? Is she going to break down? Like, she's a 10-year-old. Who knows what's going to happen? She could easily say, I'm not doing it. But apparently I was just calm, cool, and collected and super excited. And when people would ask me if I was ready to go, I'd be like, yep, easy peasy. So apparently I walked out onto the carpet and did my thing. And I remember being so overwhelmed, but in a good way, with all the people that were singing along with me. And I thought exactly that. They were singing along with me, not singing along to the anthem, singing along with me is what I thought when I was 10. And I remember when they all cheered at the end of the Canadian anthem. I thought they were just cheering for me. So then up goes my hand, and I decided to wave at them, which was something that was not rehearsed at all with my parents. So I think they were both on the sidelines being like, what is she doing? But that's where the wave originated from. I thought that everyone was cheering for me, and I decided to wave at them. And it was just such a cool experience for a 10-year-old who was
Yeah.
eager and hungry to be in that environment.
And you grew up in Vancouver too, right? So they're your team.
Exactly. Yeah, no, I have two older brothers that were both in hockey all growing up. So the Vancouver Canucks were easily a team that we would always watch on the TV together as a family. So being able to say, my brothers wanted to make it to the NHL, this was something that I watched all growing up. I was forced to sit down and eat my dinner and watch the hockey game. So now being there singing on that ice was just such a surreal experience. Even at 10 years old, I knew that.
It's crazy. And so how did you get the chance to do that in the first place? Like how did that happen?
Yeah, so my brother played for the Coquitlam Express. So I would sing for his hockey games. They
Hmm.
needed an anthem singer, and he was like, well, my sister sings. So I sang for his hockey games, and someone from the Canucks was in attendance at one of his Express games. And they approached my family and just said, I think that she would be fantastic singing for the Canucks. You should have her audition.
Hmm.
So my mom sent in an audition. I actually think my audition was in my pajamas. I really want to try and find the tape because I do think I was in my pajamas. And we sent it in and they got back to me, and sure enough, I was singing at the Canucks game.
That's the cutest.
Yeah.
So what's your earliest memory of the Canucks then?
Earliest memory would probably be honestly just sitting in front of the TV. My brothers would always put on their Canucks jerseys for the games. That was kind of a big thing. We wouldn't necessarily always be in person at the games, but we tried to kind of make that home environment as game-like as possible. So everyone would be wearing a jersey. I had a pink one, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And we would just sit around with those pop-up tables, the ones that you kind of pop up and have your dinner there and on a
Yeah.
tray.
Yeah.
And we just sit in my living room and watch hockey together.
Sounds vaguely familiar to this house. Vaguely
Yeah,
familiar. Oh, big time. We do
I
this.
love it. Hey, I think that's a sign of a great household.
Yeah. I mean, we all gather around, watch the boys. Like it's so good, right?
That's awesome.
Do you have a favorite player? Are you allowed to say this?
I've gotten this question a lot, and I'm definitely allowed to say that I have a favorite player, but I think over the years I've been able to see each player kind of develop in their own way, not just skills wise on the ice, but also just personality wise in their interviews and in the broader public.
Mm.
So I really can't say that I have a favorite because each one is so charismatic and genuine and compassionate and kind. that it's just hard to say, yeah, you're my favorite, because then all of a sudden another player does something amazing and I'm like, oh, you're my favorite. So I
So
don't really
switches all
have,
the time.
yeah, I don't really have a favorite, but I guess for the sake of the question, I think Quinn Hughes is a safe bet. He's our
Yeah,
captain. He's phenomenal. I think he's one of the top three players right now, easily. He's
easily.
just so naturally talented. So
Yeah.
I'd say he's a good
Like when
one.
he makes an error, which isn't very often,
Yeah.
you're like, what
Yeah, I know.
just happened? Like,
Which
really?
which which
He's
sucks because
human.
he's human, exactly. So of course he's gonna make a
Yeah.
mistake.
Yeah.
But you're kind of like, what do you mean? Quinn Hughes
Yeah.
made a mistake? Unheard
Uh,
of.
I think it was on your Instagram where you were kind of like going back behind the scenes kind of thing and talking about how you like talking to people and meeting people and making sure you know everybody and say hi and blah blah blah. Do you
Mhm.
have a favorite memory of being kind of in that environment?
Absolutely. Yeah. So again, I love talking. I would say that I'm a certified yapper. I love getting to know people. I love just kind of connecting with them, even if it's just a smile in exchange, kind of in passing.
Mm,
But one of my favorite memories is there was an usher who worked in the wheelchair section, kind of to the right of the tunnel where I sing.
mhm,
And from the moment that I was 10 years old until a couple years ago, he would give me a hug and see me before every single solitary game. He would give me a fist bump. He'd give me a little pep talk before I went on. And it was just one of the most special, genuine experiences that I had. Unfortunately, he has since passed away, which was a really upsetting event. And it was very hard and it was a big loss for the Canucks family and for his family and for me as well. But that was one of my favorite memories. It was just so special and heartwarming before a game.
mm, mm. What's your go-to Canucks jersey? Do you prefer one over the other? Or get
Yeah.
out here. What's your favorite logo?
I really love the black skate jersey, the old fashioned one. I really do love it. I think that it goes with every outfit.
It just looks good.
Yeah,
It's
it
a
looks
cool
great.
logo. Like, yeah,
Yeah, it looks clean, sleek, professional. Just I like it. I like it a
yeah.
lot, and I know that I'm not alone in that
No, for
opinion.
sure. That's my favorite as well.
Yeah, good one.
That or the original. I like the original. Just the stick. Like,
Yeah, the stick and the
yeah,
correct
like,
one.
you can't beat that. Like, that's hockey.
Yeah,
Which
absolutely.
which teams do you not like losing against? Like, of course, it's the Bruins, it's the
Yeah,
Oilers. Any other
yeah.
teams that you're like, oh man,
Um, I would also say the Maple Leafs, I have a lot of friends and people that I know who are also Maple Leafs fans, so they seem to have the most outward reaction when they beat the Canucks. So I think that one also stings a little bit, but I think at
yeah,
the top of the list there is the Oilers for sure. I think that there's a lot of Oilers fans that are in Vancouver and Oilers fans that also travel to Vancouver for the games and
mhm.
they're just very loud and very proud fans. So sometimes that's a little bit tricky as well.
Yeah, yeah. I don't like when we're playing the Leafs and like there's like a "Go Leafs Go" chant in the building. Like, stop.
Yeah.
There's so many people from out east and now in Western Canada. You're just like,
Yeah,
I get it.
exactly.
I get
Yeah,
it.
but at least their jerseys are blue, so it kind of looks like they're Canucks. So
Yeah.
makes you feel kind of good. You're like, haha.
And so hockey's your favorite sport to watch then?
It is, yeah.
Yeah. How about to play?
My parents naturally put me into hockey when I was
Oh,
younger.
okay.
They were really good about having us try absolutely everything. So at least if you tried it and you didn't like it, you can move on.
Yeah.
And I think
We're
they
the
were
same.
hopeful.
Yeah.
It's a good thing. I like that. It
Yeah.
builds character and creativity, whatever. But I think they were hopeful that I would be a hockey player, but I got on the ice and I think I fell flat on my butt and I was like, absolutely not. No, it's not for me. I don't like it. So I decided ultimately being a hockey player wasn't my thing, but I still loved being on the ice. I just didn't want to be wearing skates. I wanted to be on a carpet, and
Mhm.
that's how
Right.
that came to be.
Yeah, fair enough. Um, let's touch quickly on the booing
Yeah.
because it gets me. Like I went to the game last night. I was in hopes that you were there, but of course you weren't there. There was Indigenous night and they had other people singing and stuff. But you were at it. Was it a WWE match? and like you just kept obviously have to keep plowing through as the crowd's booing, but like what is it? What like why are we booing, do you think? Like beyond the tariffs and like is it simply just that? Is it Trump? Is it the tariffs? Like
Yeah, I would say so. I think it's also maybe a lot of just pent up emotions that I think now all of a sudden the booing has been unlocked and it's something that people are like, okay, great, I can get it out.
yeah.
Um, and I mean, it's a very public show of anger and emotion, and I just think that that is appealing to the people that are partaking in the booze
Mm.
for sure.
Well,
But I do
it's always
think,
like the negativity is always surpasses positivity. It always does. But I'm curious, and that you don't have to answer this, obviously, but is
yeah,
there within the organization, are they saying like we need to find a way to get it so people aren't booing at the games? Like this is garbage. Did they say that? Like, is there like respect
not.
other anthems? Like,
Yeah, I'm not outright. They haven't said it, but I mean, even at WWE, they said something I heard at the Whitecaps game that I did on Sunday, the home opener. They said something, and the Canucks have also said something where they kind of changed the announcement prior to the anthem singers going on, where instead of just saying, and now introducing so and so, they're saying, and now welcome so and so, or now respectfully welcome and sing along, or something along those lines, kind of doing an intentional announcement prior to the anthem to kind of try and dim down the booze, which is nice. But I think that there's not much that organizations can do in this experience because it's so much greater than them. I mean,
yeah,
it's so much greater than the anthem singers. It's so much greater than the organizations, you know?
yeah, yeah. I went with my oldest James. He plays hockey. And I look at him. I'm like, you fucking better not boo, buddy. Like, don't boo.
Yeah,
We're way better than this, man. We're way better
yeah,
than this.
yeah.
My youngest wants to know what's the biggest crowd you sung for?
The biggest crowd would have to be the Seattle Seahawks. I did one of their games, what was that, 2 years ago, 2 seasons ago.
Okay.
So obviously that's in front of 74 plus thousand people at Lumen Field. So that was definitely the biggest crowd I've personally ever done live.
Yeah. Are your knees shaking at this point? Or are you like more nervous than
No,
normal or no?
I'd say I'm pretty calm, cool, collected for most anthems. You know, I kind of just get in my zone. You can't really tell that I'm nervous by any means, but that one for sure I can openly admit, and I'm okay doing that, where I was definitely a little bit nervous. I remember coming off the anthem, and I actually have a video of my hands just absolutely vibrating.
Yeah.
Uh, but how could they
It's a
not?
vibe. Like going to a game there is like it's intense.
Yeah, and that was my first time attending a Seahawks game. Wasn't my first time at Lumen Field, but it was my first time having both uh, sets of stands open, the bottom and the top. So it was a lot of people.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, yeah, it was.
Mentioning off the top, of course, people know you from the anthems, but truly they should know you for just being a great singer. Like you posted something the other day. Was it a song from Frozen or something like that? And you were
Yeah,
like, "Well,
from
check out
maybe
our
Wicked.
acoustic but powerful rendition of whatever it was."
Mm.
You have chops galore. It's crazy how good you are. Like beyond we all know you for the anthems, but when you hear you singing songs, it's like takes it to another level. It's crazy.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I mean, I didn't start in anthem singing, right? And I think that obviously people just see me sing the anthem, so that's all they know me for, which that's completely fair and valid. If that's all they see, then that's all they know, right? But
Yeah.
I grew up in musical theater, so I have a background in musical theater. I was in chamber choirs, I was in jazz choirs. So I have this very broad genre of voice that I can cover and music that I can cover that people have no idea. I remember I
Well,
sang at
that blew
Christmas.
me away. Seeing that, I was like,
Yeah,
okay, yeah.
that's awesome.
Thank
See,
God.
that's okay. If you have that reaction, that's a good reaction to have. It would be the reaction of, oh, maybe she should stick to anthem singing that I would be concerned about. Um, but I sang at Christmas. They asked me to do some Christmas tunes during intermission. And I sang them with a pianist, and everybody's reaction was, holy crap. Like You can
Yeah,
sing other than the anthems? That's crazy. So that was kind of fun to share my other musical side with Canucks fans. So that was pretty cool.
yeah, absolutely. Like clearly you're a big music geek. So
Yeah.
who are your top three, top five singers?
That's also such a hard question. I feel like choosing favorites is so tricky. I think my constant has always been like Lady Gaga. I really love her music. Adele, I really love singing her songs. I think Lady Gaga really challenged and pushed borders in the music industry when she was kind of earlier on in her career. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Ella Fitzgerald is also a wonderful singer. She was a jazz singer way back when. She was kind of the first Black woman to kind of delve into the genre of jazz music. So she's quite influential. Some of the recent musicians as well, like Taylor Swift, she's really created a strong empire for herself where
It's
people
crazy. She is the biggest artist on the planet.
100%. Well, people of all ages and walks of life are able to enjoy her music and feel comfortable and welcome at her concerts, right? It's she's done a really great job, especially with the friendship bracelets. That's an awesome touch.
Hmm hmm
Uh,
So,
but
so
yeah,
what,
those are
what was the music being played in your house then? Like when you're growing up?
a little bit of everything. Yeah, I think it kind of depended on who was home and who was listening. If my brothers were there, then it was more of the pop, the hip hop, the kind of hockey type music that they play.
Yeah,
Um, if it was my dad, it was definitely some oldies, which was great because then that kind of gave me that taste of music that wasn't from my generation. If it was my mom, she was kind of a bit of everything. She really just loved any music. I think that's like a mom. They kind of just love everything. And
yeah,
then if it was me at that age, I was listening to Disney and musical theater
mm,
tracks, Kids Bop, and all of that.
yeah, yeah. And so were your parents like dragging you to concerts and stuff? Like, did you get into that world early or no?
No, we weren't. I've never actually really been a huge concert person. I've only been, I can count on maybe one hand how many concerts that I've actually been to.
Really?
Um, yeah,
Wow.
I don't know. I think I was so busy growing up that we just never got a chance to get out for concerts. And then now tickets are so expensive that I'm
That's
like,
crazy. Yeah.
I can recreate that in my car. But no, I went to a lot of musical theater shows though. That was like my form of a concert.
Mm, interesting.
Yeah,
What was your first concert that you went to?
the Backstreet Boys. Yeah. Yeah. So my dad, I think, really wanted to go to that one and I
Yeah,
think he was on daughter duty, so he brought me along to that concert. So that was my first one, but
that's
I
awesome.
didn't know any of
What
the
do you
music.
specifically remember about that show? It had to be
I
elements.
I just remember being the youngest one by a long shot, and I remember being so short that I couldn't see anything.
Mm,
Um, but it was really fun to just kind of do something with my dad and see him putting in that effort to say, "Hey, I know you love music, and I'm showing you the music that I love." So I think that effort and gesture meant more to me than the
yeah.
concert.
Oh, that's great. Clearly, singing for the Canucks is a great job. Have you had any horrible jobs?
I wouldn't say any of them have been horrible, thank goodness. I
Yeah,
I wish that I had a fun story to tell, but genuinely every job that I've done has been pretty awesome, which it's surprising that I haven't had a terrible job because I was very much a yes person growing up. I think you
mm,
have to be kind of getting into the music industry. You say yes to everything, but I never really had any terrible
mm.
jobs. No.
What was your first show like? Like for playing for people, not Canucks, but
Playing for
playing a
people.
show. What was that like?
Yeah.
And how old were you?
So I joined into a musical theater school at maybe, I think I was 7. So I did a musical called Grease Junior. So it's the movie Grease, but the junior version.
Okay.
And that was really cool. I was kind of just an ensemble role, but then when I was, I think, 8 or 9, I got a lead role in a show called Dear Edwina.
Mm,
And that was the first time that actually anybody, even my parents, were able to see me on a stage and actually envision what my future in entertainment and music could look like. I think that I kind of just overtook this role and really shone on that stage, and everyone was like, okay, she clearly has the passion for it. Now she's actually having the ability to do it. Like, let's do this. So I think my parents both agreed that that was the first moment that they said, okay, we need to push for this a little bit more. Like she's showing us what she wants and we need to listen to her.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Is that a path that you would go down, like the actual Grease? Have you seen that, by the way? They played, I think, at the QE Theater,
Yeah, actually I
like right
watched it in
before COVID.
Toronto.
It was so good. Like it
Yeah,
was so good.
it's a good show. Well, musical theater is just so good.
Yeah. So is that like something that you would go down? Like, do you apply for those jobs and like,
Yeah, I mean, I did some professional theater with, I guess, the Broadway of Vancouver, which is the Vancouver Arts Club.
okay,
So I did some shows with them when I was younger, and I really enjoyed it. I loved it. I love theater. I love the people that are in it, but it kind of got to a point where I was like, I kind of need to choose. They're very time consuming with rehearsals and shows. I mean, we were doing 8 shows a week for over 74 shows. So that's a very big time commitment.
wow,
Um, and I ultimately just decided, I love it. I just don't have that, I guess, drive to pursue musical theater specifically anymore. And I left my last show feeling really good and proud about where I was leaving musical theater. And I think that I'm happy with that. If an opportunity came up, I would by all means definitely look into it. But just at this time, I'm not actively seeking out opportunities.
hmm, okay. Um, I'm curious what you're binge watching lately. Like, what do
Mhm.
you get stuck on? What are the shows and things that you kind of rabbit hole with?
Yeah. I mean, I've watched Grey's Anatomy probably 3 times. And for Grey's Anatomy fans, you know that that's a lot of Grey's Anatomy. I think they have 18 seasons now.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so lots of Grey's Anatomy.
Mhm.
I also love the kind of murder crime documentaries that you can watch. So I just watched one about Gabby Petito. I
Okay.
don't know if you've seen that on Netflix.
Hmm.
Um, it sounds weird when I say I love those kinds of shows. I don't love what happened, but how they
But it's so
the
like, how can you
stories.
not get pulled into those styles of shows, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I'm glad you understand because some people are like, "Ooh,
Oh
who's
no,
that?"
believe me, I'm the same.
Okay, good.
Like that
So
Jeffrey Dahmer one they did on Netflix a year back or whatever. Like it was so just
yeah.
engrossing, engaging. I couldn't stop watching. Just so sick.
I think because it just feels it teeters on the line of this is so outlandish, but this is reality. And it's just that kind of unnerving feeling of the two, and you're kind of like, whoa, this could
Yeah,
happen to me.
yeah,
But
yeah. Like the
yeah,
true stories, like holy, and like the only way that that one person got busted was because of his footprint in the dirt. Like what?
absolutely. I know.
Okay,
It's crazy. Well, even the Gabby Petito one I just watched, how social media basically was one of the main contributing factors of how they figured this murder out.
right.
Which was really cool. People were like, he was in the back of my video, or he was this or that. And I was like, they would have
Whoa.
never,
Yeah.
ever found her.
70s, 80s, like no, no chance.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But kind of crazy. So yeah, those kinds of things. The Bachelor.
Oh, do you really? Okay.
Yeah, I watched The Bachelor. Lots of hockey. Actually, a really good series that's hockey related was I think it was called Face Off. It covered all the teams that were going
Yeah,
playoffs.
so good.
That was a really good one. I enjoyed that one. I felt like it went past the, oh, these are amazing athletes and they need to be so good, and actually kind of went past that wall and showed that
Mhm.
they're human and that they have lives and families. And I
Yeah,
really liked that. I loved it.
yeah. Like Quinn Hughes at home, like he's cooking
Yeah.
dinner and shit, and they're talking
Yeah.
and whatever, and like, yeah, it's so good.
Exactly.
It was great.
Yeah.
Elizabeth, I'm gonna ask you two more questions. I'll respect your time here. Thank you again for doing this.
Yeah, of course.
This isn't a question. This is a tell us a near death story where you're like, holy crap, I could have just died.
I
Do you have one of those?
don't have many. Trying to think. I it's not very exciting, but I was driving and I was fresh with my my new driver's license, and at my old school the light was really tricky. It was two stop signs and then a light on a really busy road. So it kind of just wasn't set up well for new drivers that were inexperienced.
Mm.
And I was sorry, there's been a lot of talking the last couple of days. But I was trying to turn left and almost got brutally T-boned. And thankfully I didn't, but the car behind me did, unfortunately.
Oh wow.
Uh, so that was a little bit of a an eye opener of, oh my goodness, that could have been me.
Yeah. Yeah. Everybody seems to have a story, you know?
Which is really sad. I feel like, yeah, it's sad. But I think it also opens up your eyes and makes you appreciate what you have and how precious life is and etc.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you know where I'm going for the last question. Career highlight? Can
Career
you
highlight.
can you nail it down to one thing?
I can nail it down to two.
Okay.
I nail it down to two. I think one of them is really going to be an expected one, but playoffs last year with the Canucks was definitely a career highlight. I think that seeing Vancouver so alive, electric, and full of energy after so many years of being away from the playoffs was just such a rewarding experience to witness, and kind of being at the center of that as the anthem singer was just that much cooler,
So
and being there at in the beginning in the tunnel and they were waving the towels. I couldn't help but I like got teary-eyed, and
yeah.
it was just such a moving experience. And then singing the anthem and hearing how loud the Canadian anthem was being sung was just like mind-blowing.
Yeah. So good.
Yeah, so good. And I hope we can do it again this year because that was just such a cool experience.
Mhm.
Fingers
Yeah.
crossed. They say
Yeah.
they say don't say the P word, but
No,
I'm
we're not gonna
hopeful.
say that.
Nope, we're not.
And so the other one was what? Like what comes close to that?
I'd say, the WWE Canadian anthem. I think that there's been a lot of emphasis on the American anthem. Of course, it was a very loud set of boos with 40 plus thousand people,
Yeah.
but they're not focusing on the actually even cooler part of that anthem set, which was the Canadian anthem. I mean, I've never, even playoffs, I had never heard a Canadian anthem sung so loud. It was absolutely incredible. I mean, obviously, double the amount of people that are at Rogers. We're at Rogers Center,
Yeah.
but it was so loud, and you could just feel the immense sense of patriotism and pride in our country when it was being sung. So I'd say that was also another career highlight for sure.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Where do you see yourself? I guess three questions. Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
In 5 years, well, I think something that also people don't see because they see Elizabeth as an anthem singer is I'm actually a full-time student.
Ooh,
Um, I'm studying applied behavior analysis, and then I'm specializing in autism. So that's kind of my main focus. Music is just something that I absolutely love and have kept on the side, just to keep the passion ignited and to keep it something fun that I enjoy doing. And then ABA and all of that is kind of my main career focus. So hopefully in 5 years, I see myself, working as maybe a behavior analyst, but also working as maybe the Canucks anthem singer, maybe the Seahawks anthem singer, maybe just something like that. Still doing anthems. I find that they instill lots of pride and they're just fun to do.
oh, that's great. Elizabeth, thank you again for taking the time here this morning and joining us.
I appreciate it. Thank you for reaching out and for having me. It was so lovely to talk to you.
Of course, yeah. Where are you most active? Are you're Miss underscore Elizabeth 5 on Twitter? You're Elizabeth Irving official on Instagram.
Yeah.
Are you more active on Instagram? Where
I'd
should
say
people
I'm
follow?
definitely more active on Instagram, but I'm on all platforms, so wherever is easiest.